What is going on? What is up, people? It's Thursday, and here we are. Couple of quick announcements before we get rolling here with our magnanimous guest here. First off, some of you guys, a lot of you guys actually saw a post from earlier on today. I guess the way Facebook posts things anyway, it looked like I was starting a new job or something. I am, but it's a volunteer role. I was recently voted into the board of the North Texas, the TACA, North Texas chapter. So Texas Air Conditioning Contractors Association. And so it's a pretty big honor. I'm really, I'm honored and really cool kind of, I'm really excited about making a difference. I'm really excited about contributing to this amazing community of contractors and trying to help the industry just get better. And so really honored for that. I'm wearing a hat right now. This hat is actually the Vandaliers, and they're really popular, but they're a local band here in DFW. Cool members, really enjoy their music. I have one of their albums, really neat. So I decided to wear their hat, and I was talking to them earlier. They're pretty big time. I mean, they play all over the place. They tour. Very cool band. I encourage you guys to check out Vandaliers. They have a really unique style. It's not quite any kind of genre. It's like part country, part like punk, part like everything. It's just a really cool band, really cool music. Definitely encourage you guys. So glad I got those out of the way. Without further ado, I have a gentleman here who, for a lot of you, actually needs no introduction at all. He is, I'll let him introduce himself. His name is Devon Murphy, and welcome to the stage, the Devon Murphy. Sir, how goes it?
That feels, it goes well. That feels a little bit unnecessary. I'm not that awesome. You make me feel really awesome, though, and I appreciate the compliment.
You're awesome to me, man.
I wanted to, well, I appreciate you're awesome to me. When I first made the move out to Indiana, I'll never forget. I got this text from I got a Facebook message from some guy who I didn't know saying, "Hey, man, I've been through exactly what you're about to go through. And if you ever need someone to talk to, please feel free to shoot me a message or give me a call." You sent over your phone number. And I remember sitting and reflecting on that conversation and being like, God damn, I wish I was like this guy. To not only reach out to somebody who he doesn't even know, who's going through something, and be like, "Hey man, if you ever need to chat, just because I'm that great of a guy, feel free to reach out."
Yeah, well, we had some good conversations at that event in Vegas, and you had said, I felt for you, family, moving to a whole nother state, and relocating, that's tough. And I went through it, and it's a tough thing. And I know that a lot of people who came from, I won't say the States, but came from certain places and to go to other places, it's, you got to start all over again. And I'm glad that you've really flourished. So tell everybody, like, who the heck are you, dude?
Oh God, I hate this question. I don't know where to start. So my name's Devon. I just turned 30 years old this year. I have a beautiful wife, Tiffany. We've been together. Actually, we're coming up on our 10 years together here in just a few days. And I have two young boys. They're about to be 7 and 9. Absolute beautiful, wonderful boys. Just to give you the quick abridged version, I would say I started in HVAC. I'm on my 7th year of HVAC. I started with All Heart Heating and Cooling, formerly known as DS Heating and Air, out in Los Angeles, California. Dylan Rucker gave me the opportunity. I started off as an appointment generator, worked my way into service management, then worked my way into sales, worked my way into more of a operations role, transferred, in between unofficially, and then transferred out to Indianapolis, where I took on an operations role officially, and then ended up becoming a training project manager for a very large company. Ran into call by call, ran a rehash department, got shit canned, and had to start my own business. For just being honest.
You say had to start your own business. And I get it. Like maybe in your mind, you're like, man, I gotta do this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could have just went and worked for another outfit, but something drove you to want to go out on this endeavor. Yeah.
It's something that I think back to that whole situation, and I'm a terrible employee. I really am. I have some
guilty as
skills.
Charged.
Yeah, just I have
guilty
some
as
skills.
charged.
I have some skills, man, but I needed to work for myself, and I'm actually really grateful. There's some people there that after that happened, it probably wasn't the cleanest of cuts, and people are probably pretty upset, but I'm very thankful for everybody over there. They're all great, wonderful people who taught me a lot, and I'm very thankful for the opportunity that I now have in front of me. I started this business with my buddy Andrew. We're now he's one of my best friends, and we're just happy to be traveling around and helping contractors, and it's a good time. So
yeah. So interestingly enough, when I first met you, I remember you telling me, "Now you're a young buck, man. You're only 30, right?" So yeah. I got a couple of the old spins around the sun on top of you here, but it's funny because you had said to me that you had built and designed and made an operations manual for in-home services, right? But basically an operations manual. And I was like, wait, hold on. You wrote one? And you're like, yeah, I wrote one. And I was like, wow, that's pretty neat. I mean, it's a great accomplishment. And I was like, this is a guy I want to talk to. This is a guy I want to know more about. Like you built your own. I mean, actually you inspired me to write because I wrote a sales training platform, and I'm of course it was something I did every day anyway, but I was really impressed by that. But yeah, so
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So your company that you started is called Reignite, right? It's Reignite
Sales Solutions, Reignite Sales Solutions.
Reignite Sales Solutions. And this is interesting to explain what you do, because this is not like anything that people do. This is something next level.
So, yeah, we do kind of a lot of stuff, surprisingly. So we started off, it's funny because it's evolved since we started. We started off and we were like, what the fuck are we going to do? I don't know. I need to make money. I just got, let go. Let's figure this out. And so we started off by doing some generalized trainings, and we ended up evolving into a rehash, appointment setting, and virtual call by call company. So I have, virtual call coaches that work with me now. We service quite a few companies, actually, ranging from Alabama to Texas to California to Massachusetts. We're kind of all over the place. We run call by call. We help start call by call. We run rehash. We help start rehash. We have manuals written for rehash, call by call, appointment setting, sales. We have scripts. We have everything under the sun. I haven't come out and marketed it. I've been very, very lucky. I have a Rolodex that I've been able to pull from. And then also in addition to that, I've just, had some really great connections, people like yourself who've helped me start. And so, yeah, that's what we do. We do trainings. We do support.
So for those let me break it down a little bit, because not everybody that's going to listen to this. I mean, this is, it's a generalized sales podcast. This is not, this is really just about telling our war stories and the, experiences and adventures we've had in the field. So let me just say, so part of what you do is you take like stuff that other people don't sell from companies, and then you will go and sell it, like, which is
correct.
Bonkers, by the way. You can go into any company and say, like, we're an outsourced sales team, and we can take the stuff that's falling off the plate, and we can put it back on the plate.
Yeah. And what's awesome, I'm going to throw a little plug in here for myself, if that's okay. What's awesome is we have one company that's 143% year-over-year growth. The only change that they've had is implementing our assistants. We have another one that's like 43% above as well. And if you track the actual data, the opportunity hasn't increased as dramatically as the revenue and sales have, but we've been able to capture somewhere between 15 and 20% of all unclosed estimates, and so that's kind of really helped.
You're just letting people. You're doing more. You're letting them do more with less, which is what people want these days. Yes. And again, this is not a business building podcast, but it's sales related to a point where it makes sense to talk about it. Like, dude, let's listen, all these guys out here talking about, and roll-ups and business building and yada, yada, yada. And it's like, hey, like, dude started, like, you're like a door knocker, basically. Like, you like knock on the door and go, hey man, we got business here. What's going on? Like, bring it seriously. Yeah. Like, what's going on? Oh, you got stuff you want to buy some stuff? And it's cool. I love the concept, man, because it's like, you're like a hired gun. And I love this because it's a cool resource and you make your own rules and you it's just, I love it. I love the concept of it. I'm glad that, and you're not doing any marketing. Like, you're literally, I mean, in fact, I don't think most people even know, like, you're so busy that you are taking on like new employees. It's crazy to me. And on that note, you're on an on-site right now. You're in a hotel room. And here's the thing about being in your hotel room. It's actually, well, let's just say it, man. It's not your hotel room. It's not your hotel room. No, it's not your hotel room and so this was a miss. Okay. Why don't you tell them why you're not in your own hotel room, Devon?
So I went down with one of my employees down to the hotel bar because I was like, man, I'm going to be on this podcast with Everett. I love Everett. And I got to impress the guy, with some stories. He told me like 3 hours ago I had to come up with some shit. So here we are. Yeah. And so I went down.
To be fair, it was not 3 hours ago. To be fair, it was I had a scratch. It was like 12 hours ago. Okay. It was not 3 hours ago. Okay.
Nonetheless, some odd hour is today. And so I went downstairs and I was like, all right, I'm going to get a drink before I start. I know I'm going to be nervous. So if I want to talk at all, so anyhow, so I'm sitting there and I'm having a drink. I'm like, oh shit. I left my key in the room. So I go to the front desk. I'm like, hey, can you make me a key? I gotta get back in the room. I show her my ID, everything. She's like, yeah. She makes me one. I run upstairs. It's not working on the door. I run downstairs. There's a huge line. I'm like, David, dude, I have to straight up use your room, dude. he's like, oh, okay. I'm like, is it clean, dude? Please God, tell me your room's clean. And he's like, yeah, dude, come on in. So shout out to David Cox. Thank you for letting me use your room, dude.
So Dan Baker says, if you want to impress him, roll up your sleeves. LOL. Yeah. I like it. And Devon Paul Lee says, yo, it's Devon either way hair.
So that's actually funny. So we did a training for their company, Gens Ryan, out and hopefully I'm allowed to say that, out in Minneapolis. And he's a service manager there, and he's also Devon. And so he's balding. I think by choice he shaves it off. And he's like, so they were trying to decipher the two of us. We got Devon with hair, Devon with no hair. And I told him I'm going to be joining him because this hairline's backing up on me. So
you'll be all right. You little Rogaine in there. So Devon, you spent like a lot of time in the field, like as like running sales calls, and also like as a door knocker, basically, right? You've done a lot of work. So you've got some exciting stuff. I mean, years, right? I mean, you spent years out in the field until you transitioned over into the operations role. So I'd be interested to hear, because you most of your business that you were on the road, you were in Los Angeles, right?
Correct. Yeah. So I was very, very fortunate. Dylan Rucker gave me the opportunity. I tell everybody this: HVAC saved my life. Dylan gave me an opportunity to save my life, and I'm very grateful for that. So, but yes, most time in LA.
Can I ask you something? And I don't want this. And if you don't want to answer it, you don't have to. But you say that the sales, this Dylan Rucker, the HVAC saved your life. Can you divulge, like, what do you mean, like, it saved your life?
Yeah. So I know this podcast is more for like fun and stories, but let me.
No. It's not just fun. It's about life-changing lessons that we learn that we learn in the field and about our experiences. And again, if you don't feel comfortable, please don't. But I'm curious.
I would happily share. So I had my kids young. My two boys, I was 20, 21 when my first son was born. And I got to give my wife a shout out for sticking through me through all the bullshit that we've gone through together in the last 10 years. But in 2018, about 4 years into our relationship, I was, bouncing around from job to job, bouncing around from business to business. And I was really trying and tried starting my own businesses. And I did a lot of stuff. And I always had a very limiting belief in what I deserved and what I was capable of. I mean, I dropped out of high school the first time. I had to go back to a continuation school to graduate. I had no formal education. I had kids young. I had no skills, no trade, no nothing. And so I had this belief that my life was always going to be a poverty type life. We lived in a fucking trailer. We had a well go bad. We had all sorts of stuff that led us to being homeless in 2018. And in 2018, I moved down to Lancaster, California, which is in Los Angeles County. It's already Los Angeles, but it's north of Los Angeles. And I applied everywhere. And dude, when I tell you nobody would give me a job, I mean, nobody would give me even the opportunity to interview. And DS Heating and Air, I put in my application, like whatever, like, I've always said I'd never get into HVAC, and I went and I interviewed with a guy named Scott, little guy, fucking hilarious guy. And he gave me a shot. And when I say they saved my life, here's why. I remember showing up to my first day, embarrassed about the job that I got, which was an appointment setter going into Lowe's home stores to set appointments as a 24-year-old man. I sat in that parking lot in my car after experiencing a Christmas where I couldn't get my kids, the toys that they wanted. I couldn't provide for my wife the way that we wanted. It created some contention, obviously, by good measure, because I'm failing to be a provider like I should have been. And I sat in that Lowe's parking lot and I almost didn't go in. I almost just left, dude. No action actually was taken, but I really contemplated thinking like, man, my family, my wife, my kids would have a better life if she found a different man and I just fell off the face of the earth. They would be better off. And so I don't know what happened, but I sat and I thought about it and I thought to myself, well, like, here's to one last fucking, I think we timed out there for a second, but anyway, here's to one last shot, right? Like, let me just give it one last attempt. So I went in, I took a shot. I set 4 appointments my first day. They got a sale or two. You can see David there in the background. Thanks for letting me use your room, dude. And he's going to sneak out of the camera view. So after that happened,
this is impromptu.
After that happened, it's all good. And after that happened, I went in and I said, oh my God, like I made a couple $100 in commission. I set a couple of appointments. Like this, I might actually be able to do something here. Like it's not enough, but it's something. Fast forward 5 months, I had gotten us into a townhome. Fast forward a year after that, fucking homeless to townhome to having a house in Los Angeles that we rented with a pool and a spa. My kids telling me, hey, we have too many toys this year, Daddy. We have too many toys. And I fucking cried, dude, because I was like, thank God I was able to actually provide something. And maybe I am worth something. You know what I mean? So.
Wow. What a motivator. What a motivator to, you had your why. Your why was really, and my why is really the same. And it might sound cliche, but I think there's a lot of people out there that their why is not their family. Their why is not their kids, their motivations are very different. And I once had this sales manager who asked me, he said, what's your why? Like, what drives you? Like, what are you trying to accomplish? And I said, I just don't want to tell my kids, hey, I'm really sorry, Julie, we can't have this dance lesson, or we can't, I'm really sorry, Noah, the guitar lessons are not in the budget. It wasn't about, I won't get this, Ferrari. It wasn't about flashy things. It was really about like, I just want my kids to have experiences. It wasn't about stuff. wasn't about stuff. It was about educating them and giving them tools and skills and discipline and being able to pay for those things, because those things cost money. I mean, it does. Like, you can send them to school, you can teach them everything in the world, but those experiences that they go through, they do. I mean, there's even like baseball, like it's so, everything's so, like these experiences are so expensive. And that was the one thing that I didn't want to have to say. No, I didn't want to have to say that. And that's my why. And you know what, man, you shared it. So I know we're going to get into the fun stuff, man, but I think you're right. I think this industry sort of ended up, in a way, kind of saving my life too. I mean, we were in different spots. I mean, I was super young when my oldest daughter was born. And look, man, I mean, it was years of trying to just fake it, just trying to make it, dude. I remember, no joke. I remember, like, when she was younger, my oldest daughter's 23 years old. Okay. She graduated college. Okay. This is how young I was when she was born. Okay. Magna cum laude. She just graduated college. She's an incredible, I mean, she's so ridiculously smart. And when she was a little kid, I remember like digging through couch cushions for like change, because I was like, oh God, the electrical company just like sucked my money out of my bank or whatever it was, right? And then not having that plan, and got really good at this industry. And now, like, I look around and, like, we probably should be more grateful. Probably should I look around, I'm like, holy moly, like, I can't believe where I was 20 years ago. Can't believe where I was 20 years ago. Can't believe working really hard at something and getting really good at something, got me to where I am today. And I respect you, and I appreciate you telling that story. That's probably the most heartfelt story that I'm going to choke up, bro. That was amazing. So, oh man, thanks, Devin. What did you do? You ruined everything.
I know. It's supposed to be fun, and so I'm sorry to interject here, but like, I think about, my wife and I have had a couple conversations over the last few years. We've gone through our ups, we've gone through our downs. I've been an asshole. She's been an asshole. We've, made mistakes in our relationship. But the thing that I think about with my wife, and I'm so thankful for, is that even when I couldn't provide, even when I couldn't like be the man that I wanted to be for her, I'm going to cry now too. Even when I couldn't provide the type of life that I wanted to for my kids, my wife always encouraged me in the background and said, like, I can see the potential and I know what you can do. You know what I mean? And I think about my life.
Gotta have that other half. Have that other half.
I would be in prison or dead or just a fucking loser in my parents' fucking basement if it weren't for my wife giving me the confidence and ability to go and actually accomplish something. You know what I mean? And
dude, so Devin said, hell yeah, bro. That's what makes a man. I had a similar deal in 2016. Hey man, Devin, man, maybe you want to come on and share your story too, brother. Devin. And then Dan said, dude, thanks for being straight up. Hell yeah, man. So very cool.
My man. So for Devin, I think you should have him on here, because I will say this about Devin. So I had the privilege of going to serve him and his team out there in Minneapolis. And I've never seen a service manager have such buy-in, so much so that when he put people on PIPs, they were thanking him for putting him on PIPs. So if you get the opportunity to talk to somebody, that's your guy.
That's really cool, though. PIPs are tough. I was talking about PIPs with somebody this week, actually, and they were telling me that one of the things they say when they put together a PIP is they're like, look, we're putting you on a PIP. Okay. And here's the reality. This PIP is real. PIPs are really hard to overcome. There has to be real change in order for you to get off this PIP. But in that case, unfortunately, it didn't work out, and they ended up parting ways with that employee. And it was what it was. It wasn't a good fit. It's just the way the world works. But But that's awesome. Yeah. Hey, by the way, you're on a PIP, and also I love you, bro.
Yeah. 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 He's a good
You're
dude.
almost fired. You're almost fired. You're not quite fired. You're in the almost fired range.
Oh my God. Thank you so much, Everett. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No problem. Devon, don't get fired. Next week it'll be a fired. This week it's almost fired.
Yeah, dude.
So,
Get him on
what,
the show.
so I hear, okay, so the reason why I brought up, like, so you were in LA, right? So
Yeah.
it was like, I can only imagine, like, I mean, LA's got all the normal people, right? So I can only imagine the amount of ridiculous people that you ran into in LA. So you had talked about a very strange customer who sent you a very interesting message.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
go back to the sales call, because I know the punchline, but I'd be interested about the sales call itself. What happened?
So this is, you know, what's funny? What's funny about the whole thing is it's probably my fault. The more that I think about it. Anyway, and I'll tell you why. We'll get into this. So I have a tendency to get very interested in people. You know this. We spent time together, and I know quite a bit about you, and I found that out in a very short time. We were lucky enough to hang out with Blake as well, and do all that. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about. So I get a call down in Beverly Hills, and I didn't spend very much time down in Beverly Hills. It's a condominium building down there, and I show up.
Wait, where's Beverly Hills?
I'm just kidding. In Los Angeles. Okay, I was like, really? What the fuck? Anyway, so I show up down in Beverly Hills, and I didn't get the privilege to go down there very often, so I was excited. You know, I'm going to go down here, and I show up to this building, and we're on like the third or fourth floor. We've got a condenser up on the rooftop, and we've got a electric heater actually in a closet there, electric heater and air handler there, and so I'm going through him. I'm doing some discovery with the guy. I'm talking to him about potential replacement, maybe just doing a whole bunch of different options. You know, I think we didn't have a service tech at the time, and so Dylan was like, "Just fucking figure it out, dude." So that's where I want to be. Oh yeah, good song, Beverly Hills. Anyway, moving on. So I show up there, and I'm like admiring this guy's art. I'm like, dude, the art's beautiful. Like, tell me about this piece. Tell me about this. Because I was actually genuinely interested, because I've never seen, like, I'm not an art guy, but I had never seen such realism and such beautiful art. And he starts talking to me. And then we started talking about teas. And we started talking about all this other shit. But then we got into like a deep conversation. So he's a psychiatrist down at Beverly Hills. And he, you know, does a lot of work with celebrities and a lot of that stuff. And we were having this conversation. I was like, man, you know, that's psychiatry is something that's always fascinated me, because I'm trying to figure myself out. And I kind of told him a little bit of my story, not as deep as I've told you guys. And I told him about all the things I was struggling with, and Spears Ghost Snorbs. Anyway, yeah, for real though, fucking crystals and the whole deal. So anyway, so I'm down there, and I'm talking to him about like, hey, you know, I'm trying to figure myself out. These are the books that I've been reading. This is the life that I'm trying to manifest for myself, because I'm into that. You can judge me if you want. You know, this is where I came from, and this is where I'm trying to go. And we had this really deep, meaningful conversation. And I complimented him. I was like, man, you know, thank you for listening. You're such a cool dude. And thank you for sharing all this stuff about yourself. And we just had this really great conversation. So I ended up selling like a replacement of that electric heater and the coil, but not the condenser, which I'm a fucking stickler for. We always sell the whole system, but he was just like fighting me on it. So I followed up with him a little bit later. I was like, hey, man, thank you for the opportunity, this and that. I said, hey, have you given up on this project? Like, what's going on? Like, talk to me here. And then he's like,
it's such a great sales line. That's from Exactly What to Say. Have we given up on this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Have we given up on this?
And I learned, and I think I'm paraphrasing. I think I learned that line later, but it was something along those lines. Yeah. And so we're texting back and forth, we're laughing, and we continue. We picked up the conversation that we had before. And I'm like, dude, this fucking guy's awesome. And then he sends me a shirtless picture, flexing in the mirror. And I'm like, oh, that had to have been an accident. And I just was like, all right, I'm just going to kind of ignore it. And then a couple minutes later, he sent me a picture of his bank account. And then a couple minutes later, he sends me, what did he send me? He sent me some other photos of like his other properties and shit. And I was like, oh no, how do I handle this? Like, I have no issue with this at all, but like I started doing some self-reflection. Like, did I fuck this up? Like, did I give him a cue? I mean, I told him about my kids. I told him about my wife. I told him about my life and my why and all this shit. And I learned his. And anyway, he ended up texting me. He's like, because I didn't say anything because I was fucking floored. I remember showing the whole office, being like, dude, look at this. And he texted me like maybe an hour or two later. And he's like, sorry, that was an accident. Or was it? I was like, I was like, fuck, dude,
I'm gonna check.
Don't know how to...
I'm gonna check the no box.
Yeah, I checked the no box too, and I ended up texting them back. Dude, it gets better. So I ended up texting them back and be like, I get it. So about that condenser, because I was still like, fuck, I'm getting the sale, dude. And
so he sends you a nude. He sends you a
basically
picture of his bank account, which I don't even get that. I don't even understand that. He sends you a picture of a nude, a bank account, and then his other properties. Okay, so he's flexing, and he's like, hey, Devon. Yeah. And then you're like, hey, you want to buy that other thing?
Yeah, like, wait, hold on. Let me go back to this condenser. Maybe we'll go out to dinner, but just buy this. No, I'm just kidding. So
man,
what's funny about that, dude, is it gets better. It gets better, actually. So I ended up, kind of just like, brushing that one off and just like trying to move on and move forward. Well, anyway, he ended up writing me a bad review later for not following up and not being responsive and all this kind of shit.
What?
And that was after a couple more photos had taken place and I had not responded.
What?
Yeah. Dude.
No way.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. And the best part is I go back and I tell my wife about that, and I showed her the bank account, and because I mean, I'm not gonna lie, dude, the dude had dough. And my wife was like, flirt with him a little, see if he'll buy that condenser.
Yo,
I love my wife.
And anyway. He wrote you a bad review?
Yeah, he ended up writing me a bad review. I can't remember if it was a bad review or he ended up texting me. It was something negative, being frustrated that I wasn't following up, and he complained. And I think it was a general bad review to the company. Dylan would probably remember better than I do. But
wow.
But yeah.
Dude, people are so... And I guess the concept there was like, if he writes a negative review about you, then like if you ever said anything like, oh, well, this guy's a whack job. He sent me all these like pictures, but like, no, what are you talking about? I even wrote you a bad review and you sucked and blah, 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 blah. I would never send you anything. That's not my phone number. That's not my bank account. That's not me. That's not me. And then,
dude, honestly, I fucking thought it was hilarious. Like I enjoyed the whole experience because it was just funny to me, It was very flattering. Honestly, can I be honest with you? It was very flattering. I was like, oh.
It is flattering. Yeah. I've had some dudes like, like then I'm like, I say the same thing. Like, well, was it my fault? Like, did I, hey,
what did I do in this situation?
That reminded me of something a long time ago. Do you remember a restaurant called Bennigan's?
Yeah.
So back in the day, I worked at, this is 20 something years ago, 25 years ago. I was like a young buck, but I waited tables and I hosted at Bennigan's, and I really enjoyed that job. Actually, it was kind of formative. And I remember like at the very end of the night, one night, there was this guy and he was a psychiatrist. And I remember this because he was having conversations with people and he got progressively more drunk as the night went along. And I just remember he was very well put together. He was very well dressed. And he was clearly drunk and he was clearly sad. And I remember seeing him sitting in the foyer. This moment in my life is so crystal clear. And I went out there to talk to him and I was like, hey man, and I'm like 18, 19, something like that. And I go out there and talk to him like, hey man, you okay? Like he's waiting for a cab, I think. And his car was there. He had to leave it there. And he was like, he looked up to me. He was like, you know what the problem with women is? And I said, no. Well, I actually don't know. And I was just trying to be understanding. And he goes, we miss them.
Ooh.
Dude, like I remember it like it was yesterday. We miss them. And when he said we miss them, he was saying like, my heart's broken. I cared about a woman. She's no longer with me, and I miss her and I love her. And it formative.
Yeah,
Changed my life. Yeah.
dude. Yeah. Oh,
Psychiatrist.
I think about that. Well, that's the crazy part too. He's a psychiatrist. He knows all the coping. He knows what to do, right? And you know, I think about this all the time. My wife and I talk about this all the time. Like, God, I hope I die first. You know.
Yeah.
And if you leave me, I'm definitely gonna die first. You know.
Or like at the same time, right? You have this like talks like, oh, we'll make sure we die at the same time. Yeah.
Dude, yeah.
So
yeah.
So there was something else you talked to me about at one point in time, wasn't there? There was something else, some crazy woman, some nutty woman that like you were at her house like 100.
Not even nutty. So I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the Playboy model.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So that was interesting. That was very interesting, actually, because of the whole experience. And again, I have to give a shout out to my wife for being awesome when I tell her these stories. So
her name's Tiffany, right?
Tiffany, yeah.
Tiffany.
Shout out Tiffany.
Yeah.
Dude, 10 years, almost 10 years. And you know, that's a third of my life, dude. It's a third of my life.
At some point in time, it's going to be 90% of your life. You're going to be 100 being like, oh yeah, you know.
Yeah, I can't wait for that day, to be honest with you. So I show up to this customer's house and I walk in and I'm going through, I'm sitting down at the kitchen table and we're having the conversation. I'm like, hey, you know, what's going on?
This is in Beverly Hills. This is in Los Angeles.
No. So this is actually in Lancaster. It's either Lancaster or Palmdale in the high desert, 45 minutes north of Santa Clarita and probably about an hour north of Canoga Park and Los Angeles, about an hour from Los Angeles. And I sit down at the table and, you know, the woman's definitely there. I think the couple is probably in their 60s. The woman looks a little bit older than the gentleman does. And so I think she was probably like late 60s. He's probably like late 50s, early 60s, something like that. And we're having a conversation. Everything's going well. And I'm talking about, you know, replacing the system, kind of what's going on. We're, going through the discovery, going through all that kind of stuff, having a great conversation. They're hilarious, very hilarious couple. And then she stops mid, like, I think I'm halfway through like my discovery questions. And she goes, did you know I used to be in Playboy? And I'm like,
yeah, I did. I have the issue from
clearly
1967. Yeah.
yeah. Clearly. I know exactly what you're talking about. You know, I think at this time I'm like a 24, 25-year-old, let's see, 2020. So yeah, 26 years old. And so she's like, all right, well, let me show you something. And the husband's like, all right, let's show him. And I'm like, what the fuck? What do I get to see? So let me show you this room. So we walk into the room, and I don't know how vulgar I can get on this thing, so I'm gonna try and stay.
You can say whatever. Actually, there's 4 rules, by the way.
Yeah.
And one of the rules is, don't worry about it. You're good. The rule is, if you're offended, then you're the problem. That's one of the 4 rules of this podcast. So you can say whatever you want. And if somebody's offended, it's their problem. And if they have a problem, you direct message me, you comment, and then you tell me I'm so offended. I'm going to say you're the problem.
Well, it's not like I'm running for president anytime soon. So anyway, I got 5 years before I'm old enough. So we walk in the room, and there's beads hanging in front of it. And I go through the beads, and boobs everywhere.
That's a good visual. There's boobs all over the place.
Everywhere.
So when you say boobs, you mean like there's like photos of them?
Full nude blow-ups of magazines, of everything under the sun that she had done with Playboy was just everywhere in this room. And as I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my God, how do I get out of this room? Mostly because I'm really uncomfortable, because not gonna lie, you were actually kind of hot back then.
Right back in the 70s.
Back in the 70s, you weren't too bad.
You were an item.
And this is just really weird to be standing next to your husband looking at your boobs, to be honest. And
but they didn't care. But see, they didn't care.
He was proud to say, like, look at my wife.
Yeah, he wanted you to look. He wanted you to look. He wanted you to look, dude. He wanted you to look. And she was super proud. They're in their 60s. The prime of their life has kind of passed them by, and they're like, here's a young buck. Let's show them all the boobies. And here they are.
Yeah.
Let's show them the boobies. I
was waiting to see his it's like, fuck, when is that coming? So anyway, so then they pull out all the issues of the Playboy that she's in. And while we're standing in this room, and I'm going to be honest with you, Everett, I did not know how to get the fuck out of this room. And, I'm like, because I know
you're trapped. Well, you're still in that room, actually.
Yeah, I'm still in the room. Yeah, still in my head. Yeah, And it's funny because I told my wife about that. And she's like, damn it, I wish I was there. I'm like, God, I love you so much. So they open the magazines and they start showing me the issues of all the things that she had done. Anyway, long story short, I ended up getting the sale. So I unfortunately had to look at boobs for 40 minutes. And I got the sale. So here we are.
You know what I like to, what's funny to me is that and I'm not talking like Playboy models. I'm talking like regular couples where they'll have, like, I guess, what are they called? What are the boudoir?
Oh, I don't fucking know. My wife could tell you. Bordeaux. Whatever. Fuck it.
I don't even know what they're called.
Yeah.
They're like these photos and all like racy and everything else. And it's like the couple. It's like I love when they have them like hanging out. And what's funny is like a lot of these couples have like kids. And like you're walking through their house and you go into the room and you're like, and it's like, I mean, they're everywhere. I mean, they're all over. I'll never forget walking into this one house and I'm like, there's a bunch of kids, blah, blah, blah. And you go into the master bedroom and there's like in all the glory, these like boudoir like pieces. And I'm like, this is really interesting.
Good.
In fact, one time I went to go look at a house. This is years ago. And we were like, these like owners like trying to sell their house, and they had like a bunch of boudoir, like all, these, how do you pronounce it? I don't even know idea how you pronounce it, but anyway, they're everywhere. And like, we're sitting there trying to talk to them and I couldn't like focus. I can't even think because I'm like, you're basically naked right behind you. Like there you are, you're naked and you're behind you. Like I can't have a serious conversation and negotiate the price of this house because a naked you is right behind you. And here's the thing. Like, I get it. Like it's a big industry. Like I know that there's like a famous photographer that lives near me. And like, this is what she does. Like she does these like crazy boudoir. Well, geez, I don't even know what the heck I'm saying, but anyway, these photo shoots and like she's booked up for months. She's booked up for however long. Like, cause I have a friend who like looked into it and they were like talking about it, like, oh yeah, we tried to get an appointment with her and like she's booked out for months. And I'm like, this is like the weirdest thing in the world to me, but I get it. Like couples want to do it. The thing I don't get, like I get it, like keep it in an album. The thing I don't get is that you hang it with your kids in the house.
Dude,
it's weird. It's weird.
Dude,
it's weird.
Yeah, it's very weird. Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to go too far, but yes, it is very weird.
No, we can go. See, Devon, you're not understanding the
purpose
of this podcast.
I understand. Okay. All right.
So go far.
My wife gave me a pep talk and she's like, just so you know, you stay, So anyway,
Tiffany gave you a pep talk before this podcast and she said, you have to stay PG. You already are. It doesn't matter. You're fine.
Yeah. My wife told me, she told me she knows me. She's like, I know you. Like, you're gonna take it too far. Just here's the thing. You've been on a bunch of podcasts. Okay.
You've been on HVAC Success Secrets Revealed. You've been on, I think, Service Mastery Podcast. You've been on a bunch of other ones, right? So it's
Jason
like,
Walker.
yeah. So this is the fun one. This is like the one where, this is the one where you just kind of shoot the breeze. Like there's no like, how did you grow your business from this to this? Well, we covered some of that, right? It's really cool. Like, but let's have a good time. Let's talk.
So if my mother ever saw this, she'd fucking kill me.
She won't see it. We'll make sure we won't send it to
her. So I'll never forget my mom and my stepdad the first time I ever walked in on that ever taking place. And I think about just that imagery burnt in my head forever. I was like 6 years old, and forever will never forget this whole scene in the living room. And I think about that and I go, God damn, could you imagine some of these other, industries that people get into, the Bordeaux photos, the whatever else that's out there. And it's like, dude, your kids forever like have to remember that. And then they hit puberty and they have to remember that. And then they, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it. Although I will say that there's like life, I think, is about like mental like frame of mind, right? Like different frames of mind, different ways of viewing the world. And like that photographer is like, hey, this is like we should be fine with this. And then they teach their kids that if they have kids, and it's okay for them. And who am I? Like, who am I to judge like how they raise their kids or what they think or whatever the case may be. So what I've learned, one of the things I've learned, Devon, on this, I met a woman who did, I didn't meet her. Like I know her. She was on the podcast and she cleans out hoarders' houses, and she talks a lot about having empathy and having compassion, because these people that she's cleaning out their hoarder houses are like psychologically, they're fucked. Like they're screaming at her. And she hired, these people hired her to do this. And I have compassion and I'm less judgy. And I'm at a point in my life, especially actually this podcast has actually really helped me, really helped me to like want to understand and want to know, like, what is it that makes you tick? What is it? Why do you have this problem? Why do you like uncovering these things? And it's been, enlightening. So anyway.
Yeah. And look, I'm not passing judgment on anybody, just to be clear on that, but I just think back to my memories and then I think about being the child in that situation. I'm just I don't envy it. I don't envy it, to say the least. Yeah.
It's weird. It's definitely weird. It's definitely weird. And not every kid's going to take it the same way. And they're going to always be like, oh, mom and dad are really weird. And
dude. Yeah. Like so it's funny actually, because I struggle with this just being a parent now. My oldest son, so I'm a very affectionate father. My oldest son is a very affectionate young man, and a young man, he's fucking 8 years old. And you know what I mean? Like he'll come snuggle up with me. I still kiss my son. I still, do all that stuff. And I think about it, I'm like, man, like I would have never let my parents do that when I was a kid. And it's interesting just to see how different we are wired. You know what I mean? And how like I'm not very affectionate with my mom. I didn't know my dad till I was an adult, about practically. But anyway, but just everybody's so different. Some people are so affectionate, some people aren't. Some people are comfortable with the nudity and the everything else, and some people aren't. And I can't put my finger on whether or not it's that nature versus nurture thing. Like I don't know. Like it's hard for me to be that way. And then I had my firstborn. Like I don't like being, intimate in that way. And I remember holding my son for the first time and just being like, holy shit, I will never love anything as much as this. Like I would kill this, fucking doctor right here for you, And
some of that's nature. I will say, like, I'm on the nurture team because
Yeah.
I was adopted. So
Right.
I know that I don't have, like, when I look at attributes of people, I tend to see that this is how they were brought up. This is what they were taught, not this is how they just are. I refuse to accept, like, well, they're just like that. There might be some personality quirks. There might be some physical attributes. There might be some things, but ultimately I think it's 90% nurture, 10% nature. There's things you can't walk away from. There's things you can't avoid, and that is the nature part. But I think for the most part, the brain, the body, the human mind at such a young age, I really think it's a nurture thing. You can raise a child, you can raise a human to believe and to think and to, certain things. So, but
sure.
You mentioned
funny. I'm totally cutting you off, but that 90-10, that's interesting that you chose that ratio. So for me, I think it's almost like 60-40. Like, because there's something like
who knows?
The only reason I say, yeah, fuck it doesn't matter. But I would agree that I would say that nurture is probably the majority, in my opinion. Similar to yours. But like, I have 2 sons, and when I think as hard as I can, I'm sure there's so much variance. And I probably learned so much from the first time to the second time. And there's so much to say about the nurture part of it. But oh my God, I don't think that the introversion, extroversion difference between the two of them, and maybe I'm incorrect and I'm missing something.
Yeah, in that respect, yes, like there's certain things that are innate. But large, and those might be just nuances. Those are like sort of like personality quality kind of things. But but I'm talking about like core, like beliefs and how, work ethic and things that you have, values, like all that. Like, that definitely I think comes from.
All right, so in that realm, I agree with you. I think it is predominantly nurture. And I think that you know what? I might even argue that though. Actually, now you just sparked a whole memory. Like my upbringing, dude, no accountability in my life, no any of that shit. You know what I mean? And I think, and I think back to that, I'm like, dude, I wasn't instilled with a work ethic, but I was instilled with being fucking.
Wait. Yeah. I know where you're going with this. Like, hey, like I never, like I'm successful. I have a business. Like my parents came from, like, had nothing. They didn't care. They didn't like strive for anything or whatever it is. Right. I'm not saying that's you. I'm just saying I get it. Well, here's the thing. Your growth in society shaped who you are now. So you might have seen it and the societal, right? You observed things and you were like, huh. And then it was that observation. It wasn't just innate, like, oh, I just want to be successful because I was born that way. It was, you saw things, you learned things, you observed, you wanted to make more of yourself. And so you did. And so your story before rings 100% true. It was, here you are, you go from like homeless to super successful business owner. Like, so anyway, this had been an incredible conversation. I do think I remember you saying there was an interesting circumstance that you were in, and I wanted to cover it just because I think that the nature of this podcast needs to hear this story about something about multiple trips back to a house, and there was some kind of uncomfortable situation. Anyway.
Okay. Yeah, I know what direction you're going. So bathrobe lady. And I think
not to be confused with Lady in a Robe, which was like episode 2. This is a different story. This is a different robe.
Yeah. So bathrobe lady. I went back and forth. I had to do return visits with her.
So how'd the call start? Like what happened?
All right. So here's how the call started. And again, this is another situation that definitely stroked my ego a little bit. And I had to go back and tell my wife and be like, haha, your husband's actually desirable. But anyway, so nonetheless, so I went to this call and I remember opening the door and I remember it's a woman probably in her 40s. And she opens the door and I shit you not, like opens the door and very blatantly is like, right, gives me that up and down look. And I've been working out, just kidding. But anyway, so she invites me in. We go through the call and had other contractors out there. And I really had to work with this woman. I remember like there was so much going on. There was like a poor credit situation. I remember that, the system was complex. The ductwork needed replaced and so did the AC. And I had to explain to her, like, yeah, these other companies are going to come in and they're probably just going to try and replace just the AC. Your furnace is already 20 years old. They don't want a Frankenstein, blah, 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 blah. All the fucking sales shit that you go through. And then also I remember taking static pressure and be like, look, like your static's high, the ductwork's leaking, you have breathing issues, all this kind of stuff. And so we had this great conversation. And she tells me, hey, look, I love everything you're saying. I think I'm going to go with you. And I tried every objection handling option in the book. And she was like, look, I need you to come back on Friday. Okay, that's fine. I'll come back on Friday. It's fucking Wednesday or whatever it was. And so I come back on Friday and I'm here to get the contract signed. She knows I'm coming. It's not like a morning appointment. It's not like a late night appointment. It's like a 2:00 in the afternoon appointment. And I show up and she's in a robe and only the robe. And it's like one of those fuzzy, like, you know what I'm talking about? Those like fuzzy, like fur, but not fur. Like it's like cotton pretending to be fur. You know what I'm talking about? Anyway, one of those fucking things.
I don't know, dude.
And I shit you not, like as low as it could go, and as short as it could be. And she invites me in, and I'm like, oh, dude, my wife would fucking shoot me in the face right now. All right, fuck it. I'm trying to get a sale. This is going to feed our family. Let's do it. So I go in the house, and she's like, hey, let's do it. I want this one. She signs it. She's like, let's do the financing. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, I'm going to go back to the bedroom real quick, whatever. Okay, great. And the story is not as great as you probably all are thinking right now. It's really not. It's a little more PG than probably what you're thinking. So anyway, I go back to the room, and she's like, she yells for me, and I'm like, okay. And I like fucking as slowly as could possibly walk back. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? I walk back there, and she's sitting on the bed, and she's like, all right, like hand me the iPad, whatever. So I hand her the iPad. She's like, go ahead. And I'm like,
she asked you to sit down.
She asked me to sit down. And okay. I said, no, I'm going to stand right here. God, I remember telling my wife this story. Anyway, I just remember her reaction while I'm telling her the story. She's like, fucking bitch. Anyway, so I sit down, or I don't sit down. I stand up, and I'm standing there, and she's like, yeah, sit down. And I'm like, no. I tell her twice, no. And she goes, I don't bite. And I'm like, I just like pause, and she's like, unless you want me to. And I was like, sick, because she was not cute at all. I'm like, sick. Not that if she was cute, I would have done anything, Tiffany. I swear to God. But anyway,
anyway.
hold on. Let me back this up. So I tell her, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go stand out there. You go ahead and sign that. Let me know if you have any questions. And so I go back into the living room. And anyway, that's really the whole story. It's not that great of a story.
So she was intentional about wanting to get you back and freshening up and making sure that she was in a position where,
Doug, it wasn't even a freshen up situation. It was like, hey, I'm coming back. I'm going to sit down. And she's like, I don't bite, And I'm like, oh my God, dude.
Yeah. She wanted some Devon.
She wanted some Devon, apparently. And what's funny is, like, again, I'm 26. I'm 180 pounds. Like, I'm just so young, whatever. Anyway, it's not like I'm cute now, but it's just funny to think that it was an ego stroke, and it made me feel really good. I'll tell you.
Of course. I mean, anytime you're desired and everything else, it's good. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
So let me, I got to ask you, every podcast, I ask the same question, and it may not be easy to answer because there was other episodes where it wasn't so easy to answer. What is the one experience, the one call that you've ran, the one person that you've sat with, had a sales call with, had a conversation with, that lives with you, that you've internalized perpetually, and that has changed your life?
Jane Bishop.
Okay.
Oh boy. Jane Bishop. So, woman out of Scotland, met an army man who came out, who was stationed or something, or had a trip or did something out in Scotland. I can't remember that piece of it, but I do remember military man came out, and she fell in love. She left her family. She left everything she knew, everything she loved, everything about her life. She loved. I'm gonna fucking tear up for this. She left and came to California. Ended up in fucking Palmdale or Lancaster, one of the two. They're the same thing to me. And I remember I came about a year after he had died. And I sat with her and we had a great conversation. She told me about everything that had happened since her husband had died, with the plumbing, with the electrical, with this, with that, with, the air conditioning now while I was there, and how hard it was for her to navigate this life without her husband. And, the people asking her for extra money or taking advantage, or the fucking shitty water heater install, or, all the garage door, she had to come get replaced and she got taken advantage of. And, I ended up being able to help her. We did a full system install. We did duct work. We did everything for her, but it opened my eyes to how much power we have over homeowners, especially those who are elderly, women who have been widowed, those who just don't know. And it opened my eyes to, we have a true responsibility to serve the community and the people in front of us and do a good job and not take advantage. And, and not that I was ever somebody who took advantage. I mean, in the beginning, I'm going to be honest with you. I had to learn I had to change my mindset when I first got into sales and I first made money and went, holy shit, I can provide for my family and I'm fucking desperate and I'm homeless and holy shit, everybody buy shit. You know what I mean? And then I got to a point where I truly believe it was Jane Bishop who taught me, I have a fucking responsibility. I have a responsibility to do the right thing, regardless of the outcome for myself, for my clients. And I have a responsibility also to fight, regardless of their past experience with contractors, to make sure they do the fucking right thing. And I have a real opportunity to help somebody. Go ahead.
But what was it about Jane? Because this is and when I see you say this, when I hear you say this, it's there's something about this woman that changed you.
Yeah.
It had to be her. What was it? What is it about this woman that changed you? Because we've seen customers get ripped off all the time. We see it. We go in, we help them out. But what is it about her? What moved you about her? Was it the story about her coming here? Was it the fact that she was, widowed, or was it just all of it?
Dude, it was all of it, but it was also when I first walked in, she greeted me with a smile. She had been ripped off, but she treated me like I was her best friend. She fucking fed me a cinnamon roll, that she had just baked,
Sure.
Which obviously, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach, right?
Yeah.
And she told me these stories about her life. And then she asked genuinely, and cared genuinely about my life and my situation and everything that I had that had happened throughout my life. And I remember telling her honestly, like, you know, and to be honest with you, even on the other podcasts that I've been on, I've never been so honest or vulnerable with the fact that, dude, like, I never amounted to shit. I lived in apartments in a fucking trailer. And this is the first time I'm ever saying that on a podcast. Like, I was a fucking loser, dude. Mm. And I remember talking to her and telling her that, you know, about my situation, where I came from, where I was going. And she just gave me so much guidance and so much love and so much acceptance and just non-judgment. And I remember sitting there and looking at this woman and be like, God, how could anybody treat this woman with anything other than the utmost respect? And not only that, when I came here today, when I got the call on my board, and I looked at the call on my board, and I looked at the age of the system, and I looked at the situation, and I looked at the fact that it was an older woman who I know is going to like me, I fucking saw dollar signs when I showed up. And then I was humbled very quickly to realize, like, God damn, like, I can't be that way.
Mm. Wow.
So.
Wow.
I did.
That was, you know, I put myself into your shoes right there, because I've met those women, especially women. And I'll tell you why. Because she was a widow, and I think there's a propensity for widows in general, right? Women who don't have men around the house to do things, and, you know, they ordinarily, like, maybe it's a small task, but they call a service company because they, you know, they used to have a husband that did it for them, and now they don't have a husband that does it for them. They have to call the service company. And sometimes I think that we're too dismissive. We're too fast. We don't take the time. We don't drink the Kool-Aid. We don't have the glass of iced tea. We don't listen to what they're saying. And I know it's not, you know, again, I know this is not a business building kind of thing, but the reality is that, like, the better you listen, the better you identify the, you know, I mean, this woman, you know, shaped you and changed you in a way that, is really remarkable. And I'm glad that sits with you, because I have so many of those that live in my mind, and that's actually the main motivation behind this podcast. Was I have so many of these women that you're talking about that live, like, right in here, that have completely shaped and changed the way that I view the world. I view the world differently because of these people. And I'm humbled, and I'm actually grateful. But, dude, this has been this 1 hour has been seriously the best, like, most insightful, reflective 1 hour. And you know what's weird is that, like, of course it would be you, right? Because of course it would be you. Like, I'm and also, like, you know, it was like I had another guest scheduled, and then they bailed at the last second, and I was like, all right, well, Devon's cool. Let's get Devon on here. Like, let's. And so I'm ever grateful. So plug your business one more time, because you're getting a business plug right now. How can people find you?
So before I do that, I just want to say thank you. And thank you for the opportunity. And I also want everybody to know just how much of a stand-up person Everett really is. You know, when we talk about, like, a customer that changed my life, we talk about people that changed my life. You changed my life in a way for wanting to just be better, just a better friend. Somebody who, like, doesn't know somebody. Because, yeah, we met in Vegas, but we met in Vegas after you sent me that message. I don't know if you remember that. And that was so,
that's interesting. You're right. That's right. I remember, because you had posted some things about you relocating or whatever it was. And now that I think about it, that's interesting. Yeah.
Not one of my friends reached out. and asked me how I was doing or what was going on. Not people that I'd known for my whole life. It was some fucking dude out of Dallas that I didn't know that said, "Hey man, if you need to talk, like, I get it." And I had to sit and reflect and be like, God damn, what a piece of shit I am. Because like, what kind of man wouldn't reach out to his friends in this situation? What kind of man, would I be if I continue to live a life as selfish as I have? And you had a big impact on me, dude. And I really appreciate the fact that you put yourself out like that. You reached out to somebody you didn't fucking know. And then when I met you, you continued to follow up with me. You continued to befriend me. You continued to build a relationship with me. And every time, it's also crazy too about Everett is every time I say something good that's going on in my life, when I talk to other people, I have some friends now. I'm very fortunate now to have some friends that celebrate with me. But the first person to do it 3.5 years ago would have been Everett Lapel saying, "Man, I'm so happy for you." Not comparing, not talking about what he did. "Man, I'm so happy for you. How can I help?" So just want to point that out. So if you want to find me, I'm not going to let you fucking talk because I'll cry. If you if you want to find me, reignitesales.com. Devon, Devon, at reignitesales.com is my email. Devon Murphy on Facebook. But again, what we do on-site trainings. We set up call-by-call in-house. We set up call-by-call where we actually do the call-by-call. We set up rehash. We set appointments. Even if you don't want our services, if you just want free information, like I geek out on this shit and I'd love to give it to you. So, and if I get an opportunity to build another friend like Everett, I'd be happy to do that as well.
Ordinarily I end this podcast on like a little message, talking about, the next episodes and all this kind of stuff, which I have some great stuff coming up. I'm not this. I'm going to end it like that. Guys, awesome. Devon, dude, I love you, bro. That was really heartfelt. Very cool. Reach out to Reignite, and we will see you next week. All right. See ya.
Bye, buddy.